Hey, who's there?
Quick, hide me! My kind must not be seen!
Mable? Is there anyone not breaking into the pool tonight? What, is Seuss here too?
Ugh, I'm okay.
Go home, Seuss.
You got it. Yes.
So, why are you here?
No reason.
Did that cooler just clear its throat?
Don't be silly. There certainly isn't a merman in there, if that's what you're implying. Who said anything about a merman?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pining for the Falls, the podcast where everybody is stealing pool supplies. It's true. I'm Fire Princess Lily, and I am joined, as always, by my good friend, Dr. Sea Monster. Hey, Doc, how you doing?
Just fine. Had a week.
Yeah, heard that.
How about yourself?
It's been alright. What's been going on?
Lots of nothing. Had a rough couple days. Got invited out with a couple friends to watch the opening Astros game, and that was a good game. I'm not much of a sports person, but I can appreciate it, especially because they sprung for all the snacks, and one of them worked at the place at the bar we went to. So our $90 bill was like $30.
Nice, very nice. Hopefully, everybody was super safe, though.
Oh yeah, masks, sitting apart, normal stuff.
Good deal. Things we have to do these days.
Yeah. Wear your masks, kids.
Wear your mask.
And social distance.
Please. Florida's going to get us all killed. Florida. Why can't we just saw you off?
I haven't really ever been terribly ashamed of being from Texas, but we are not handling this well, and I don't appreciate it.
Saw off Texas too. Bye, Texas. Sorry. It's okay. Y'all aren't the only ones doing bad. California's doing bad. Florida's doing bad.
Yeah.
California's excuses just have a bunch of vapid fucking people who do not care. In fact, famous YouTuber Tana Mojo was caught on video at a COVID party, a party to have during the virus, not necessarily to catch it. At least I hope not. Jesus Christ. Was just on tape saying, "I don't give a fuck," about the virus. So that's what California is dealing with. Just ship those people off to space forever. What else has been going on with you? I'm sorry.
Honestly, that's been it.
That's been it. Okay. Me, I have been up to working. Lots of work. So much work. It's what I do, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, at night, Don't get older, kids. Just, if you can stop aging at all, just do it. Just, and then share that secret with me. Because let me tell you something. I used to be able to eat a 5 pound, no, maybe not a 5 pound burrito, but, I used to be able to eat, a super awesome burrito, at least 2.5 pounds, and then, be cool. Be a little full, but I wouldn't be, dead. This week, not to be gross, but, I ate, a regular burrito, probably, maybe a 1/4 pound, right? It's about the standard size for a burrito. And I was in such pain for, 16 hours. I don't even know if you can call it the bubble guts. Oh, it was so bad. It was just pain. It was so hard to sleep that day. That was the day we were supposed to record the Trigger podcast. And I'm so glad that you didn't ask. Because I was nope, could not do it. It was real bad. Let's talk about something not gross. I watched the first season, and I'm a little late on this. I watched the first season of Buddy Thunderstruck on Netflix, and let me tell you, that is a show. Do you know anything about Buddy Thunderstruck?
I've never heard of it before.
Awesome. Buddy Thunderstruck is a stop motion cartoon with animal people, or animals as people, anyway. And Buddy Thunderstruck, the titular character, he is a semi-truck racer. Instead of having like regular racing cars, everybody races semi-trucks. I don't know why either, but he is. Did you like the movie? What was that movie with Will Ferrell?
Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights. Did you like that at all?
It was okay.
Yeah, Buddy Thunderstruck's kind of a lot like that, only like, a series. Buddy cannot lose a race. He's very good at racing, and he's kind of self-absorbed. But it's real hilarious, in my opinion, the way he is self-absorbed, and just some of the situations they come up with. Like they had an episode where him and his best friend Darnell, who rides in the truck with him when he races, get beat up by a Girl Scout because they won't buy her cookies, and she like hits them with a Hadoken, right? And it leads to a really funny line like, "Oh man, we have got to learn kung fu so we don't get Hadokened by little girls no more." It's like this is a thing that's happened to him beforehand that has led to this thought process. It's real good. I suggest it. It's on Netflix. There's supposed to be 2 seasons, but Netflix only has the 1. So that is a little bit of a bummer. I'm sure I can find season 2 somewhere. And all the characters are just real fun. I really enjoyed it. Let's see, what else? Wrestling was good this week. Yeah. Let me explain. Wrestling was fine. They just I don't know if you know this about me, but I find women's wrestling to be super important to me. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it ever at length, a lot. The joke is I have. This week, AEW on Dynamite had a match between Ivelisse and Diamante on Dynamite. Not a dark match, which with 2 quote-unquote unsigned talent. Now, I'm sure one of them at least is signed. I think Diamante signed at the very least. So people were they hyped up this match all week. People were really excited for it. And not only did they give it a terrible placement in the card, they followed a match that was that should have been the main event. The match they followed should have been the main event instead of the main event we got. The main event was fine. It just wasn't as good as the Falls Count Anywhere match. The Falls Count Anywhere match was between the Young Bucks and the Butcher and the Blade, and it started in a kitchen and worked its way out to the ring. It was amazing. I enjoyed it so much. And that should have ended the show. Anyway, it's not important. What is important is the match that followed was the women's match, and this match would have been fine if it had been before the Falls Count Anywhere match. But because it was after, it felt a lot slower. Because when you because the Falls Count Anywhere match is excitement happening at every single second. Like I said, they started in the kitchen. They're throwing meat at each other. The Blade got kicked up an escalator. It was pretty great. So when you have a match like that is pretty much a showstopper, anything that follows it is just gonna suffer. That is just how that goes. They put on a fine match. The match was great. I liked it a whole lot. But in the middle of the match, they shrunk it down and put it up in a corner so that they could air a promo from a different wrestler, a wrestler named Big Swole. And I've probably talked about Big Swole and her feud with Britt Baker before, correct? Does that sound
Yeah.
familiar? Okay. So, the promo's fine. I like Big Swole. The problem is they put it right in the middle of a match. Like, they don't give women hardly any time. And they'd already given Britt Baker a promo earlier in the night, so we had already had a Swole Baker segment, more or less. And it just felt real unnecessary. Like, they could have probably put these promos back to back and that would have been fine, but they didn't need to, like, put it in the middle of a match, especially not a match that they've been hyping up all week. A match that, you know, people have been waiting on because, you know, it's a women's match between two wrestlers who aren't officially signed, and everybody's, like, interested in seeing what they can do. And so it's really upsetting that they would do that. Like, I don't know how to explain it in, like, layman's terms. Like, it would be like me doing, I don't know. Like,
I get the general idea.
yeah. So that sucked. That sucked a lot. I'm still kind of angry about it. We'll see what they do this week. But they did also announce that there's going to be a women's tag team tournament, which, cool. I mean, I am definitely interested in seeing what they do with that. They're promising 8 teams, which I didn't think they had that many women in their roster currently. But hey, you know, if this means more signings, stuff like that, I'm all for it. But the real problem is that at the end, there's nothing. They don't have a women's tag division. So it's cool that somebody's going to win this tournament and be like, yeah, I won, you know, the tournament. But it's just like with MJF's Dynamite Diamond, which was a diamond ring that he won after a battle royale. It doesn't necessarily actually mean anything to win that because it serves no story importance except for when he, like, pulls it out to hit somebody in the face with it to cheat. So, yay. He's a heel.
Yeah.
MJF is a heel that never gives up the act. He is a heel all the time. He actually got in trouble a few months ago, like towards the beginning of the year, for flipping off a kid. Which, let me tell you something. If I'm a wrestling fan and I like MJF, I'm probably not going to go have my kid's picture taken with MJF because I know that he's a heel who doesn't give up the act. Maybe don't do that.
I mean, if I was a fan of a heel player and I got flipped off by them, I would appreciate being included in the gag.
I mean, apparently at first the father of the child was like, aha, that's funny. But then later he was like, oh, actually, I don't feel that's funny, and I deserve free tickets to your next show in the area. So
yeah, that was about free tickets.
Yeah. See, what else happened this week? We're all done with talking about wrestling. God of High School, really good. Some people should watch it. I'm not enjoying because I'm so far ahead because I've been reading it since 2011. I'm not enjoying people trying to guess what's going to happen next because they're so wildly off. It's like, stop guessing. Because you're not going to get it. At this point, I've just come to the realization that you're not going to get it. Just enjoy the ride. Just enjoy the ride.
What is it about?
What do you mean, what is it about?
I mean, what is it about?
God of High School?
Yeah.
It's Tournament Arc the anime. Until it's not.
Sure.
And then it is Tournament Arc again. Until it's not. It's very It's good though. It's about a character named Jin Mori and his search to be reunited with his grandfather, and to learn and to fight strong people. That is his goal: is to fight strong people.
So it's shonen.
It is shonen. I'm sorry. Was that not? Did I not?
No, I don't know. You've never really told me anything about the content of it before.
Oh well, because it's just started. Don't want to spoil anything.
I mean, I'm vaguely interested, but I just haven't looked into it yet.
It's good. The animation is clean as fuck. Like, it never dips in quality. Like, a lot of shonen, once you get to, like, you have, like, some good, like, animation, and then the rest of it is, like, it's not bad, but it's not, like the fight between Sasuke and Naruto in Naruto, the way the animation quality, like, ramps all the way up, like, from like the opening where they're just talking to like where they're fighting, and suddenly like the animation's different and it's more fluid and whatever.
Yeah.
They do that the entire time through Gata High School.
Go Naruto, you look kind of cool.
Yeah.
Or a nice old meme.
Yeah, people, like, I don't want to spoil anything, like, and anybody listening to this who might watch Gata High School at this point, it would be a huge spoiler for me to start pulling out, like, named stuff, because they haven't quite introduced it yet in the show. They've shown something with one character, but they haven't actually put a name to it or explained it yet. And I understand what it is and what's going on. I know what every character is doing. Like, for example, without naming names, there's a character who did like a really cool attack that used air pressure, and people are like, oh my gosh, is that like his power or something? It's like, no, he's just using air pressure. He's just hitting hard. That's it. It just manifests like that to give you an idea of what's going on, because you can't see the air, so they have to give it a shape. Big brain.
I do appreciate a good pressure wave attack.
But yeah, that's I can't think of anything else to talk about, which I guess is fine. We don't have to have like a super long intro all the time, I suppose. Yeah, I got nothing unless you've got something.
Let's see. What have I watched lately? JoJo. I'm still working my way through the last season of JoJo. Still keeping up with My Next Life as a Villainist. Great show.
Finish that.
I think I've got one episode left.
My wife also finished it, and she's like, I don't know that all the girls are gay for Katarina. And I'm like, yes, they are. They very much are. Come on.
I mean,
there's a whole episode where the maid lines it out. Each character's motivation and feelings about Katarina, and it's all romantic.
I mean, Mary is horny on Maine.
She has no doubts about Mary. She's like, yeah, Mary totally, because Mary's obvious as fuck.
Mary's horny on Maine. Sophia is constantly trying to get Katarina into some kind of Yuri type situation.
Mm-hmm.
And Maria is just kind of, biding her time.
Yep. So, my wife is absolutely certain that Sophia and Maria really just want to be friends. And I'm like, no. But it's okay. Everybody views things a little differently.
Sophia is trying to get her brother to marry Katarina so she can keep her close. Look, it's pretty obvious what Sophia's plan is. Sophia has a strategy.
She does.
Meanwhile, Mary is playing against Alan when they could be double teaming her, not literally.
Phrasing.
I don't have a polyamory king. Nothing. Anyway,
Let's.
you want to talk about Gravity Falls?
Yeah, let's talk about Gravity Falls. This week we watched episode 15, season 1, The Deep End. And I believe I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast that this is not my favorite episode. And upon reviewing it, it's still not my favorite episode.
It's not really bad. It just doesn't really stand out.
Yeah. So we open on a bright, sunny as fuck day, and we listen to Toby Determined on the radio. I mean, it's the caption says "man" on the radio, but it's Toby's voice.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be Toby, but if it wasn't, they could have used a different voice. Anyway, and it's just, this voice on the radio is like, watch out, it's like 110 degrees, we're looking at the hottest day of the summer. And a squirrel just ignites. It turns into dust. We cut into this inside the Mystery Shack. The wax figure stand is just melting, even inside. The wallpaper is peeling, and the fish tank is boiling. We look at the Pines family and Zeus. They're all just like lounging around, sort of in kind of their underwear, or just shorts. And Dipper's like, all in favor of doing nothing, just say, ugh. And everybody groans. And raises their hand. Waddles walks up to Girl and says, like, hey, I'm going to throw this pig out of the house. To which Waddles licks his face, like, all right, you call my bluff. Then the radio says, hey, a good thing's happening. The Gravity Falls pool has just opened up. And there was like, the pool? Oh my gosh, the pool. Let's all go to the pool. And Grunkle Stan's like, come on, kids, let's go. And he's trying to get up off the ground, but he's stuck because, sweat. It's sort of like if you've ever sat with your skin touching leather on a hot day, the way you stick to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the twins walk over with spatulas and peel Grunkle Stan off the floor, which horrifies Zeus. And there's just a bunch of the floor just stuck to Stan.
Like planks of wood.
Planks of wood. It's really good. The radio says, and remember, be on the alert for random wildfires. And Stan's like, what was that? And he screams as we hear a fire just start. Mable says, he'll be fine. And then we skip the intro. It's a good intro. I wouldn't skip it normally. But we cut to the pool. Somebody says, all right, who wants to do a cannonball? Cannonball! Ugh. Everybody's like, the pool. A sparkling oasis of summer enchantment. And Gurgle says, like, yeah, nothing like sitting in a warm tub with a bunch of strangers. Dipper is walking with Zeus, and he's looking at Zeus's towel, and he says, why would a sun need sunglasses? Because it's a towel of a sun with sunglasses. It says, summer fun. And Zeus is like, it's best not to think about it. Mable stops everybody. She's like, wait a minute, who is this dude I'm looking at? Who is this guy? And Zeus is like, oh yeah, word is, dude never leaves the pool. Some people say he's a mysterious loner. Mabel's eyes are huge and big. She's like, is it getting hot out here, or is it just that guy? And Dipper's like, could we just go 1 week without you, like, having a crush on some new guy at all? Could you just chill? And she's like, no chill. I like his little mustache. And Zeus is like, yes, you're clearly enamored. You should go to him. And we get a scene of Mable running across the pool deck and just bumping over everything. It's pretty good. Dipper's like, whatever. Mabel's all talk. She's never even kissed a guy before, so this is nothing. She always messes it up. To which Grunkle says, oi, women. He then gets hit in the face with a water balloon, and we find out that Wendy is the lifeguard on duty. Grunkle said even asks, hey, where's the lifeguard? And she's like, I am the lifeguard. That means I make the rules, sucker. And she starts throwing more water balloons at Stan. And Stan's like, oh, she's attacking me with water. And she runs away. And he runs away. Dipper's like, what are you doing here? She's like, I found out that lifeguards get free snack privileges, and I get the best seat in the house. So I'm a lifeguard. He's like, yeah, you get the best seat. And he's like, oh no, I've been laughing too long. To which Zeus is like, hey, are you trying to have a staring contest with Wendy? Because I think you're winning. And Dipper's like, get the fuck out of here. Dipper's like, hey, come on, Wendy, you want to go chuck more water balloons at Grunkle Stan? It'll be real fun. Wendy's like, I would love to, but I have to hold tryouts to find like an assistant lifeguard. It's so dumb. And Dipper's like, hey, I could be the assistant lifeguard. She's like, oh yeah, that'd be totally fun. You're in. But before you like are totally approved, you have to check with my boss, Mr. Poolcheck. And we get a look at a guy we saw last episode in Dipper's voice story. And it's a balding man with a sunscreen on his nose, and he's like super jacked. And he just immediately drops down, starts doing push-ups. Nobody's asked him to. He's doing the clapping kind. He's doing push-ups with his fingers. He is intense. We then cut over to the merman. I mean, we don't know he's a merman yet, but he is. His name is Mermando. We'll find that out later in the episode. Spoiler. Anyway, Mable pops up. She's like, wow, how crazy it is to just bump into you here, even though we don't know each other. And he's like, how long were you under the water? What the... She's like, that doesn't matter. And she starts coughing, and she coughs off a Band-Aid, which is super gross. She's like,
it's really nasty.
That's super nasty, I don't know. She introduces herself, and he's like, oh, hola. She's like, oh, wow, are you Australian? He's like, I'm charmed by your sense of humor and your bold lack of water wings. And she's like, oh, you're so funny. Like, she's like doing the whole thing. She's like, and your hair is super beautiful. He's like, don't touch my hair. It's all tangled up. She's like, hey, what if and she pulls out a comb, which is weird. But she starts combing through his hair, and she's like talking to herself. He's like, hey, it's time. Just go ahead and ask him on a date. She's like, hey, so you want to go dry off? Maybe hit the snack bar? And he's like, I'm afraid I cannot, for I have a terrible secret. Mermando's voiced by the same person who voices Strong Bad. I just can't think of his name.
It is Matt Chapman, one of the creators of
Homestar
Gravity
Runner?
Falls, of Homestar Runner, and one of the writers on the first season of Gravity Falls.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. Yeah. He's using a version of that Strong Bad voice. But he's like, I have a terrible secret. I gotta get out of here. And Mabel's like, oh, I'm upset. But I'm intrigued. And we come back to Dipper, who's like, and that's why I think I would make a great lifeguard assistant. Mr. Pooljack is hammering in a sign really hard. And then he turns to Dipper, sniffs Dipper, and is like, SPF 100. Good, I like you. But this is not an easy job. It's anarchy out there. And he points to the pool, and it is just super lazy. Nothing major's happening. There's no anarchy. Dipper's like, I think I can handle this. And he's like, can you? And he pulls off one of his hands. And he's like, I lost my hand to a pool filter.
It makes me wonder how he was doing those push-ups with his fingers.
Right? That is one hell of a prosthetic. It's like, it's not a gag. He keeps the pool keys in there and everything. Like... Anyway, he's like, the pool may seem friendly, but she can turn on you in an instant. Which is why you must respect her rules. Do you think you have what it takes, boy? Do you? And he looks over at Wendy, who's like throwing up a water balloon and catching it while giving him the thumbs up. He's like, yeah, sure, I guess, whatever. You know, he just wants to hang out with Wendy. And he is gifted with a pool whistle. He's like, welcome to the deep end, son. He's like, well, thanks. And then Poolcheck hugs him real hard. He's like, oh, yeah, this is happening. We cut over to Grunkle Stan, who has found the perfect pool chair. He's like, it's equal distance from the bathroom and the snack bar. It has the perfect amount of shade and sunlight. And it's pointed away from where old man McGucket rubs lotion on himself. It's the perfect lawn chair. Zeus is like, oh man, the legends you told me in the car were true. And Grunkle Stan's like, yeah, I can't believe this just wasn't taken. Now I'm going to sit on it and claim it as my own. And he goes to lean back and immediately is stopped by a foot. And we pan out and Gideon is sitting in the chair. I don't know why I've dropped the Grunkle Stan voice. I just felt like, I do not have it in me to do it all episode today. Anyway, and he's like, what? And Gideon's like, oh, hello there, Stanford. And he's like, oh, you better get out of my chair, Gideon. Yeah, I can do it. Whatever. It's fun. It's the best impression that I do in this entire show, and it's not that great anyway. But he's like, oh, wait, was this your chair? And even though Stan has put on a towel that says property to stand on the chair, but he's like, is this your chair? I didn't know. Oh. He's like, yes, I did, Stan. I did know. And he starts, like, rubbing himself all over the chair. And he's like, well, first come, first serve. And you can't move me. And Gurgle Stan's like, I'll first serve you. And he picks up Gideon and then he gets thrown in pool jail. He's like, come on, you can't do this as an old man. And he's like, and when he's like, well, it's not up to me. Well, you know what? Actually, it is, because I make the rules. Dipper runs up and says, hey, Wendy, I got the job. She's like, sweet, you want to go abuse your power? And he's like, I don't know. Mr. Polchek seems emotionally unstable. We cut over to Mr. Polchek, who's doing upside down sit-ups using the fence. I mean, that might not be exactly what he's doing, but he is hanging upside down from the fence. He raises up perfectly and looks around the pool and then lowers himself back down. Wendy's like, look, don't worry about him. You just gotta be sneaky with your rule breaking and it'll all be cool. Totally fine. And they run away laughing. Dipper looks over at Mr. Polchek, who is drinking pool water, like, really sloppily. It's like dripping from his face. It's weird. And he just, like, looks over and licks his lips, and Dipper stops running, which I would too. Cut over back to pool jail, and the kid's like, hey, how long are you in for? And he's like 2 hours. But I didn't do it. I'm framed. I'm innocent. It's like, yeah, pool jail ain't so bad. Just don't get caught in solitary. And we cut over to this kid who's like in where the filter would be. He's behind bars. And later we're going to see this kid he's stuck there. He's stuck there forever, I guess. Because our closing credit scene is a silent scene of this kid stuck behind bars and the seasons passing. So it's real boring. We're not going to play it. But I would like to know why the pool has the authority to just do this to a child, and why the parents aren't out looking for him.
Neoliberalism.
Oh, okay. But the kid says it's the nights that are the hardest. He gets some leaves blown past him, real somber like. Cut back over to Mable. She is bugging Mermando. Well, not bugging him. She's just she's kind of bugging him. She's like, hey there, I brought you a sandwich. It's sort of wet, but it's still good, and it is soaked through. She sits it on the pool floaty that he's been like hanging onto. And she's like, I like sharing things. Sandwiches, secrets, share your secrets with a beautiful stranger. And he's like, well, that wet sandwich does look delicious. Oh, very well. But you must never tell another soul my terrible secret. You see, you have to stay away from me because I am a merman. And he moves the pool floaty away and reveals his merman tail. And he was like, oh, thank goodness. I thought you were going to say you had a girlfriend. Because Mable is boy crazy. That's her character. Mostly. She's like, a merman? I should have known from your strange foreign fish language. He says, it is Spanish. Your voice is so deep and masculine. How old are you? And he's like, I am 12. A merman's voice drops very, like when we were 3. She's like, so what's your name? And he's like, there are some who would call me Mermando. And he pulls out a guitar. He's like, that is because it's my name. I am Mermando. She's like, but I don't understand, Mermando. What's a guy like you doing in the pool? He's like, it's a tragic story. I was swimming with my friends, the mighty dolphins, when suddenly I was caught in a net. And we get treated to a scene of this. He does get caught in a net. And the 2 fishermen are like, Earl, did we just catch ourselves some kind of beautiful man fish? To which the old captain says, feast on his flesh. It's really bad. The truck is apparently en route to Gravity Falls. Mermando escapes the truck, tries to swim upstream with the salmon, only to get hit in the face with a log and sent to shore. And he's like, and I would have died if it were not for the kindness of the forest animals. He's being licked by deers and such. What I don't understand is why he didn't just like roll back over into the water. He's like less than a foot away. Well, I guess he's a couple feet away, but that's not the point. Is he could have made it.
He could have.
But the deers licking him tickle him so much that he starts flopping around. Goes through a storm drain or some kind of like corrugated piping, and lands in the pool after bouncing down a hill. And he's like, and that's how I came to be here. You must seriously be weirded out right now. She's like, what? I don't care that you're a merman. You're like the coolest guy I've ever met. And you can play like at least one chord of the guitar. And he's like, wow, Mable, I have never met another human like you. Would you care to join me in a game of Marco Polo? She's like, oh yes, Mermando. And she grabs him by the face, and she's like, he's like, you're covering my gills. I cannot breathe. And she lets go, and she starts coughing. And he's like, weird. We cut over to Gideon, who's lotioning himself up. He's like, I'm baby soft. Stan is looking on. He's like, look at him. That smug chair stealing jerk. I can't touch him, or the pool patrol will throw me in pool jail. And he notices that the sun is glinting off his watch. And he's like, yes. He starts trying to angle it towards Gideon's face. He's like, yes, burn the child. And Gideon pulls out like some little face goggles, to, like, you know, for tanning. And he bounces the reflection back at Stan, right into Stan's eyes. And Stan goes in the pool. We cut over to Zeus, who is putting on a inflatable tube with the face of a duck. And he hears a little voice say, Zeus. And he's like, inflatable duck guy, is that you? And it's like, yes, Zeus, I can talk. And he's like, oh gosh, I knew you guys were secretly alive. I knew it. And it's just Wendy and Dipper having fun at his expense with like a little megaphone. They are shushing each other back and forth, which is super weird when you consider how Dipper feels about Wendy. But we cut back over to Zeus, and they're doing the voice. And like, my people have been enslaved, Zeus. You must set us free. He's like, inflatable pulled duck revolution is at hand. And they start laughing until a whistle blows. And it's pull check telling everybody, pool's closing, clear out everyone, get out of here. And Dipper, when you're like, pull check, hide. He's like, and as Dipper's running away, he gets yelled at by pull check, assistant lifeguard. Have a good night, son. Lock up the supplies for me. And he opens up his hand to pull out the keys to lock all the stuff up. We cut over back to Mermando and Mable. They're combing each other's hair. And Mermando's like, you should come by and we should see each other tonight. And she's like, sure, you want to go for like a walk or something? And he's like, merman, I'm a merman. She's like, oh, right. Oh, then I'll be back here tonight. We cut to the night. And Mable is pulled up with the Mystery Shack cart. And she pulls the pool skimmer to put into the fence to give herself a leg up to climb up the fence. And it bends the pool skimmer, which is important to the story. We cut back to them in the pool, and she's showing Mermando a bunch of family photos and really pointing out people's legs. She's like, oh, can you imagine not having legs? He's like, I would like to skip this.
You know, I like Mabel, but in this episode, she's kind of she's the kind of low-key racist that in the way that only a white liberal can be.
Right? Ugh, it's terrible. But she points to a picture of her whole family kickboxing. Mermando turns away with a sigh, and she's like, what's wrong? He pulls out a guitar, tries to strum a chord, but it's full of water, so it doesn't work out right. He's like, I too used to have a family back in the ocean. And he opens up his like little shell on his chest to reveal a family photo. And she's like, Mermando, why don't you just leave the pool? He's like, I tried once, but the escape plan was bold and daring, and it failed. And we cut to what he tried to do, which was jump out of the pool, land on the pool deck, and then flop around until he fell back into the pool after getting pecked in the head by a woodpecker.
That is somebody's wife, Lilith?
It is somebody's wife. But it's like, it's okay, because I'm glad that I'm here, because I met you. And then we pan over to him looking up at the stars and a shooting star going over his head. And Mabel's thinking to herself, oh, yeah, it's time to go for this kiss. It's time to get that first kiss. And she leans in for it, pucking her lips. And we pan back over to Mermando, who's like, what are you doing with your mouth? She's like, me? Nothing. I was just eating some sour candy. And my lips were doing that because the candy was so sour. He's like, can I have some candy? She's like, no. It is now the next day at the pool, and we cut in on Deputy Derlin and Sheriff Blubbs lathering each other up with a what is that? Sunscreen. Thank you, brain. They both get a little life preserver stir over them. They're like, "Oh no, what's going on? We're scared." It's just Dipper and Wendy having more fun. And Wendy's like, you and me this summer, we're going to have fun all summer long. It's really great. He's like, all summer? A whistle blows. And we pan over to Pool Check, who's super angry. He's like, Pines, here, now. And he's like, you gave me my word that you would respect the sacred rules of this municipal pool. And he's like, Mr. Pool Check, are you crying? He's like, that's not important. Sniff. He is crying. His face is super red. He's screaming at Dipper. He's like, you are on thin ice. You want to keep this job? Some maniac broke into the supply closet last night, and they destroyed our one and only pool skimmer. I want you to stake out and find out whoever is doing this, and if one more supply gets taken, you're fired. And Dipper's like, I won't let you down, sir. We cut over to Mable and Mermando. And Mabel's like, Mermando, get ready. I'm going to bring the heat. And she like tosses over she hits over a beach ball to Mermando. And it just bounces him into his head. She's like, are you okay? He's like, oh, are you thinking about your family again? Dang. He's like, he makes a dolphin noise. It's a sad dolphin noise. Mabel's like, that's enough. I care about you too much to see you like this. I'm going to break you out of this pool. I'm going to bust you out and get you back to your family. And he's like, well, Mabel, that is impossible. She's like, no, it's not. We're going to break you out tonight. And she hits the water and it splashes all over. She's like, whoops, sorry about that. We cut to the pool at night. Dipper. Okay, so the pool's closed, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has to leave the pool when the pool is closed, right?
Yes.
So, Dipper is walking back and forth in the pool, and clearly Mermando is just sitting in the center of it. Why hasn't Dipper said anything to him yet?
Maybe he hangs out under the surface?
But he's clearly above the water.
That's very curious.
Just how does Mermando stay in the pool? It's a pool. Like, that is a plot hole that I just thought of. Like, I've watched this episode like 3 or 4 times, and I'm just now thinking of this. Like, it's clear water. It's not like he can hide out at the bottom and not be seen. Anyway, let's move on. Anyway, Dipper's like, here's the plan. We're gonna catch a trespasser, get back the supplies, keep the job at the pool, and eventually marry Wendy. He pans over because he hears the sound. He's like, freeze. He's like, Grunkle Stan? Stan has cut a Stan-sized hole in the fence, and he's like, I'm sleepwalking. And I'm sleep-talking. What are you doing here? They was like, you're the one destroying the pool supplies. To which Charles says, like, what? No, my crime's a lot better than that. I would take that seat, and I'd be ready in the morning when Gideon gets here. And then maybe I'll destroy some pool supplies. I don't know, the night's young. Dipper blows his pool whistle, and Girl says, like, all right, sheesh, I'm going. And then he runs past Dipper, which allows Mable to back up the Mystery Shack cart, pick open a lock to grab a pool chest. And she's like, hey, are you ready to escape? And Mermando's like, yes, but how can I? I'm a merman. I can't, get out of the water. I can't escape. She's like, well, okay, my original plan was to tape together a bunch of fish sticks and make you some prosthetic legs. It's like, oh, intriguing. But she's like, and then I just realized I could transport you in this cooler. And she's like filling it up with water. It's like, yes, haha. He bounces out of the pool, flops around for a bit, knocks over two other pool skimmers. I don't know if these are new pool skimmers or if it's just ones that Mr. Poolcheck didn't know about. Seems weird. But he bounces into the cooler. That's when Dipper says, hey, who's there? Mermando's like, quick, hide me. My kind must not be seen. Which, honestly, I kind of get what he's getting at. But I don't understand why Mable wouldn't just say, hey, I got a merman. This is Dipper we're talking about. Right?
Yeah, he'd probably be down for just like, Serpent.
Yeah.
How can I help?
Exactly. He probably would have helped. Instead, Mabel's like, nothing's going on. He's like, is there anybody else not is there anyone not breaking into the pool tonight? What, is Zeus here too? And that's when we pan over and Zeus is falling over the top of the village. He's like, well, I'm okay. He's like, go home, Zeus. He's like, you got it. And he starts trying to jump over the fence. He's like, so what are you doing here? She's like, no reason. To which Mermando clears his throat and Dipper's like, did that cooler just clear its throat? She's like, don't be silly. There certainly isn't like a merman in there, if that's what you're implying. Who said anything about a merman? And he's like, Mable, I don't have time for your games. If you don't give me those supplies, I'm going to lose the coolest job ever. She's like, I understand. Wait a minute, is that Wendy in a bikini? He's like, really? Where? At night? And he turns around. And then she drives away, not through the hole she backed in through, but through a new hole that she makes with the golf cart. Dipper goes through the first hole with the pool cart, and we pan over to the kid still in solitary pool jail. And he's like, go, Mable, go. Not all of us can be saved. Like, it's so weird. Where are this kid's parents? Anyway, we cut to a car chase, and Mermando is like in the back of the cooler, and she's like, come on, Mermando, let's go. We're going to get you home. Dipper is falling hot on their heels in the pool cart, blowing them, throwing water balloons, shooting water balloons at them, using another pool skimmer. Lots of pool skimmers for only having one. Anyway, she's like, pull over like the name of pool law. She's like, screw pool law. We cut back over to Grunkle Stan, who is changed into his bathing suit, and he gets into the perfect chair. He's like, now to stay here till the pool opens in 15 hours. This was a good plan. We cut back over to Mable and Dipper, who are having a high-speed chase. They go past the office, Sheriff Blubs and Deputy Derlin, and who are napping. They get woken up by the extreme speed, and Sheriff Blubs is like, somebody just speed by here? To which Deputy Derlin is like, probably just a dream. Sheriff Blubs says something extremely heterosexual. He says, with you, every day is a dream. Super straight. The straightest. Generally we save that kind of a joke for the Trigger podcast, but
it's appropriate for these two.
It's appropriate for these two. Cut back to Mable and Dipper doing their chase, to which Dipper has launched a water balloon that hits the tab of the cooler, start draining the water quickly out of the cooler, causing Mermando to freak out. He's like, I can't breathe. Ugh. But they get to the lake, Mable tips over the mystery cart, and Dipper's like, "All right, come on. This is silly. This is enough. Just hand back over that cooler and those pool supplies, and let me go return it." And she's like, "No, I will not." And she's like, "Why not? Why do you even need it?" And finally, she's like, "I needed the cooler to save my new friend because he really needs to go home, and he's really nice, and we comb each other's hair. And he needs to be in the cooler because he breathes water because he's a merman." And she opens it, and Mermando rolls out, and he's like, and Dipper's like, "Whoa, way to bury the lead, Mable," showing that he probably would have been really cool to help out. Anyway, she's like, "Dipper, Mermando, the merman, he's a merman." And he's like, "Oh, it's nice to meet." He's like, "It's nice to meet you. Also, I think I am dying." And he starts gasping, "Water!" He falls over. He's like, "Agua, yo necesito." And they're just staring at him for a bit. A fly lands on his face. And Mabel's like, "Dipper, your lifeguard gives CPR." She's like, and he's like, "Mermando, breathe air." She's like, "Well, then give him reverse CPR, doy." He pulls out a water bottle, puts water in his mouth, and then starts giving reverse CPR, which is to blow water into Mermando's fish lungs. And he's like, "Oh, I hate this." Mabel takes a picture of their lips together. She's like, "Haha, blackmail." And Mermando starts breathing again. He's like, "Thank you for saving me. But why didn't you just roll me into the lake?" And they are like 2 feet away from the lake. He's like, "Oh, I could have done that." Anyway, they toss Mermando over. He's like, he's so happy. He starts making happy dolphin noises. And then he coughs. He's like, "Ugh." And he's like, "I am weak from coughing. How will I ever get my family to hear my call from the depths of the mighty ocean?" And Mabel's like, "I got it." And she pulls out the megaphone. She's like, "Here we go." And Dipper's like, "Mabel, those are pool supplies. I will get fired." She's like, "Dipper, don't you know what it's like to fall for someone? And even though you know in your heart that it'll probably never work out, you do anything for that person?" Dipper's like, "Yeah. Give Mermando the megaphone." And she hands it over. She's like, "Thanks, Dip." He's like, "Mabel, I've never met anyone like you." She's like, "Same here, except for the zombie, a gnome, and a couple of cute vampires." And Dipper's like, "I don't remember the vampires." She's like, "I don't tell you everything," which is really good. I like that. She's like, "Well, Mermando, I guess this is it." He's like, "Not quite. This is." And he bounces up and kisses her. She does like the 1 foot off the ground thing. Dipper's like, "Whoa, okay, that's gross. Don't want to see that." Mabel's like, "Yes, that was my first kiss. I'm so happy." She's like, "Hey, but it was also your first kiss too." Huh? He's like, "Please don't get me involved in this." She's like, "Goodbye, Mermando." He's like, "Goodbye, Mabel." She's like, "You did the right thing." Deborah's like, Yeah. They're walking away, and she's like, "Oh wait, one last thing." And she runs out onto I don't know what it's called when rocks are like lined up like this. I know it's a specific
jetty?
thing. A what?
I think that might be a jetty.
Maybe. I don't know. But there's a bunch of rocks lined up in like a line formation, and they recreate the Free Willy scene. If you're old enough to understand that, then cool. If you're not old enough to understand that, then that reference wasn't made for you.
Yeah.
Sorry. The only way they could have made it more obvious is if they played Michael Jackson over it. Or something that sounded like Michael Jackson.
Sure.
Anyway, she says, "I've always wanted to do that." We cut back to the pool. And Mr. Poolcheck is like, "A wrecked fence, ditch the pool mobile, and a missing megaphone. Who was responsible for this?" That was my Grunkle Stan voice for some reason. But Dipper's like, "It's my fault, sir. I'm sorry. I got in too deep." And he's like, "Hand over the whistle, boy." Dipper hands over his whistle, to which Mr. Poolcheck breaks the string with his teeth, and then throws the whistle into his mouth and chews it up. He just grinds it up in his mouth. It's real weird. Dipper just like backs away, like that was enough. He's like, if one more Mr. Poolcheck, if one more thing goes wrong today, and that's when Zeus runs out of the pool supplies with all the inflatable duck, tubes, and he's like, "You're free now, free!" And he throws them over the fence. Inflatable ducks unite! And Mr. Polchak's like, "You?" He's like, "Me? What? Ha!" And he like scrambles over the fence to get away as Mr. Polchak just runs through it, and then that's when Tyler Cutie Biker, is that his name?
Cute biker.
Cute Biker. Just runs over and says, get him, which is his thing. Dipper's sad until he gets hit with a water balloon. He's like, "Hey, doofus, you'll never guess what happened. It's Wendy. I just got fired." And he's like, "What, really?" She's like, "Yeah, I guess Polchak found out I was taking too many snacks." He's like, "How many?" She lifts up her hat to reveal 3 bags of corn. I forget what. There was a better way to see this name earlier in the show. It's a
Corn
Dorito.
Chantas.
Yeah, it's a Dorito knockoff. But she's like, "Hey, you want to go somewhere else and break the rules?" He's like, "Yeah, of course." And they both laugh. Mabel is got her legs in the pool. She's super sad. And that's when a bottle pops out of the pool drain. She's like, "Huh?" It's labeled to her. She opens it, pulls out the letter. She's like, and it's a letter from Mermando. It's like, "Dear Mabel, I am home with my family, and I am very happy. Our first kiss will always hold a place in my heart, which technically hearts. As a merman, I have like 17 hearts, which is horrifying, but true. More bottles on the way." And that's when a bunch of bottles start popping out of the pool drain. We cut over to Grunkle Stan, who is lounging in the pool chair, super happy. Gideon's watching. He's like, "Stanford!" And Grunkle's like, "Ha ha!" He's like, "Oh, I guess you've won. Put it there." He reaches out his hand. Grunkle Stan tries to reach out his hand. He's like, Unless I guessed your plan and coated the entire chair with glue last night." Because Grunkle Stan is stuck. "Enjoy your chair forever." And he walks away laughing. And Grunkle Stan's like, kids, get this spatula! Kids! And that's when the episode ends. And we cut over to our end credit scene, which, as said, is just the boy in pool jail, in pool solitary, just being in pool solitary throughout the entire seasons of a year. Where are this boy's parents?
Including like when the pool is frozen over in winter.
Yeah! Where are this boy's parents?
How is he not dead?
How is he not dead? But yeah, that's the end of the episode. The cryptogram this week, once decoded, reads, "Viven los patos de la piscina," which is "Long live the pool ducks."
Cool. Let's see, trivia. So we mentioned that Mermando is voiced by Matt Chapman, one of the brothers Chaps, creators of Homestar Runner, voice of Strong Bad, who has also done some writing on the show for the first season and a few other stray voices. Pool Check is voiced by another writer on the series, Michael Riada, who also voices 2 of Wendy's teenage friends.
Oh, Leanne Thompson.
Yeah. So overall, this episode's not bad. It's not really standout, but like a lackluster Gravity Falls episode is still better than most things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a Gravity Falls 4 is still like a 6 for most things. You know?
Yeah. It's an okay episode. Like I just said, it's just not my favorite.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, this episode was watched by 4.5 million viewers on its premiere night as the highest rated episode of the series. Which is surprising to me. Maybe viewership fell off after this episode because this episode is not that great. I mean, it's still good. It's just... Oh, and apparently the original script, Stan was supposed to say blind the child rather than burn the child. This was changed because Blind the Child was deemed too graphic.
A little bit.
Over Burn the Child? Anyway, that's the end. You got anything else to talk about on this episode?
Not really. It's just kind of an average episode. Good, not great.
Yeah. The next episode is Carpe Diem. And this one's a Freaky Friday episode. Next one is Carpe Diem, the Freaky Friday episode of the series.
All right.
It's the one with the hidden room with the carpet. Anyway, where can people find you online if they want to talk to you about stuff?
I am on Twitter way too much. I am at Dr. C Monster. That is at DRC Monster. Come and see me make music recommendations to friends who may or may not enjoy them.
You can find me, as always, on Twitter at DatFirePrincess, spelled D-A-T. You can find me on my numerous podcasts that I do. I do several of them. And it takes everything I have not to start new ones. Honestly. You'd think I'd know better. I don't.
If you liked Pool Check and want more jacked, over-the-top blonde guys, please check out our Studio Trigger podcast. We are working our way through Kill la Kill, and with many episodes featuring Gamagori, who has a lot in common with Pool Check.
Just being muscular and too intense?
Yes. And blonde.
And blonde. But not balding.
No.
Yeah, so until next time.
Reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
Bye! Enjoy no in thing this week. Again, maybe next week.